Okay, my friends, here it is, the video that many of you have requested, the how to make water-soluble calcium supplement for your plants. So first I'm going to say a few words about it, and then I'll take you in the kitchen and show you exactly how to make this stuff, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you how to use it, dilution rates and all of that stuff. So calcium is critical for all sorts of different plant functions, okay? If your plants are lacking in calcium, you will notice a lack in luster because calcium has to do with the absorption of all other nutrients. So a lack in calcium can display itself, manifest itself as apparent deficiencies of all kinds of other things. And you'll just generally visually notice a lack in luster of the plants, especially once it begins to fruit. If the fruit looks soft, kind of soggy or lackluster, there's not a strong odoriferous resin smell or anything like that, calcium, okay? This has been my experience. Also, if when you harvest the stuff, if it goes bad quickly, like much quicker than it seems like it should, lack of calcium in the soil. So if you want your stuff to look fresh and vibrant and smell strong and delicious and flavorful and to keep for a long time, add this calcium supplement. You have to make sure the plants are getting plenty of it. So what exactly is happening here though? What are we doing? So we're combining two natural ingredients, eggshells and vinegar. Now, when these combine, a chemical reaction happens because it's calcium carbonate, that's what's in the eggshells, also oyster shells work, calcium carbonate and acetic acid in the vinegar. And so we combine them, the chemical reaction happens, and the molecules are torn apart and then rearranged into new molecules. And the new molecules, in this case, is calcium acetate, which is a form of calcium that is very easy to utilize by the plants and easily digested by the microbial activity in the soil and on the plant leaves, so it then becomes available to the plant. So what we are left with, what happens is the calcium acetate is created, and the byproduct is a little bit of water and carbon dioxide, okay? So just remember that, the byproduct is carbon dioxide. Now, let's just go right in there and I will show you how to do it, okay? But before we do, guys, please, if you so desire, if you're liking these videos, go ahead and help the channel out. The easiest way is to give the video a thumbs up. Next is to share the video and leave a comment. That kind of stuff helps the algorithm. And then beyond that, if you're feeling inspired, you see that little heart with the $sign in it at the corner of the screen? You can click that and there's like a 5, 10, 15, 20 or whatever. That's a donation to the cause, and that's greatly appreciated, and that helps inspire me to keep making these videos, okay? Also, there's a link in the description to my PayPal donation thing, so thank you, my friends. Okay, now the first step is we're gonna take our eggshells and we're gonna lightly char them. Now, the only reason that we are doing this is because there is a thin membrane that exists on the shell, and if we don't char it off, that membrane, when we go to store the final mixture, can sort of turn rancid and spoil the whole thing. So all we're doing here is we are sort of charring off that membrane and we're crunching up the eggs at the same time. There's no need to powder this mixture. Don't turn it into a powder. It doesn't help anything. It only hinders it actually. So just kind of, it's going to pop and crackle, and after about 10 minutes it's going to turn dark color like this. Now this is nice and charred. This is all the further we have to go. There's no need to blacken it or go any further than this. Just char it to this point till it smells a little bit like burnt hair. Now we will take our vinegar. Now listen carefully, my friends. It does not matter what kind of vinegar you use, okay? In Korean natural farming, you'll see they use brown rice vinegar, but that's because that's what they have available, plentiful in their country where they are at. Here we have apple cider vinegar. The best is to make your own, but you can also just use straight up distilled white vinegar, okay? But again, the best is to make your own, but it doesn't matter. Just take your vinegar, and now we're going to use a ratio of 1 part of eggshell to 10 parts of vinegar. And so we're going to add the vinegar first. And this is 5 cups. Here's 5 cups, and I'm going to pour another 5 cups and pour that in. So I've got 10 cups of apple cider vinegar. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of the crushed roasted eggshells. I'm going to do this kind of slowly because I've had it sort of volcanoize before by doing it too fast. So sprinkle it in nice and slow, and you're going to begin to see this chemical reaction start to happen. Now, it's going to happen at first kind of slowly. You see here it's starting to happen because what you're seeing is carbon dioxide. Because remember, the acetic acid in the vinegar reacts with the calcium carbonate in the eggshells to create calcium acetate, and the byproduct is carbon dioxide. So as each one of the shells produce carbon dioxide, it sort of makes it float up to the surface. That's why you see them floating, then they release the carbon dioxide and they fall back down to the bottom. So this is about 30 minutes in to the reaction, and you see a nice thick layer of bubbles, and everything is happening really vibrantly. Now, it's very important that you tie a breathable yet tight-fitting lid of some kind onto this, because if you don't do this step, my friends, you will end up with a gnat trap, and you'll have hundreds of gnats inside of this, and it will spoil it when you go to store it. So you see how no gnats are getting into this, yet it can breathe, because we want to place it in an area where it can do this reaction for between 5 to 10 days until you don't see any more bubbles coming. Okay, so now it's been about between 5 and 10 days. Now here's how you tell when it's totally finished, is that the bubbles will have stopped, because carbon dioxide is a byproduct of this chemical reaction. So once the reaction's over, you will be left with a substance that has been neutralized. So the bubbles have stopped. Go ahead and taste it. You won't taste an acid taste. It will not taste like cider vinegar because it's become neutralized. So we have a whole new substance now of calcium acetate. Liquid calcium acetate. So what you got to do after all the bubbles have stopped and everything, about a week, filter it through, strain it through like a coffee filter or a double layer of t-shirt, something that's going to get the fine, because the fine particulates of the eggshell will clog the drip emitters and your backpack sprayer. Trust me, I know this from experience. So just make sure that it's filtered through something fine, and then it will stay shelf stable indefinitely. Guys, this is not a ferment, contrary to popular understanding. This is a whole new chemical composition, okay? So it's not fermenting, so it's gonna last a long time. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and answer this question right now, because I know I'm gonna get it from you guys. You're gonna say, well, why don't you just bury the eggshells? I bury it in my soil and everything's fine. Yeah, okay, and that's one way to do it. And that's one way that it has been done, and it's still a great way. Put it in the soil and stuff. But here's the thing, guys. Doing it that way is going to take years before the microbes break down the eggshells into a form that the plants can use. I mean, up to a decade, eggshells can remain just whole in the soil. And it takes a long time for them to break down this really hard substance, okay? So don't think that you're gonna sprinkle eggshells around your plants and that's gonna do anything this year or the next year or the next year or the next year. It's gonna be like a decade down the road where that's gonna really benefit the soil, okay? It's still good to do, of course, but this is the way to get it to that. We're speeding up this process through a natural chemical reaction by like a decade, and we're making it immediately in a solution that's usable, okay? So now, how do we use this stuff? 1 teaspoon per gallon, and we foliar it on. Guys, let me know if you want to see a video on how exactly I foliar. I should probably do that. We foliar, spray it on. Also, we drench the soil and the plants. 1 teaspoon a gallon, that's 5 milliliters per gallon. You can do it once a week, because hopefully you've watched my other video about how I apply these fertilizers. And with the submersible pump, you add it to that solution once a week, and your plants are gonna love you for it, my friends, okay? So let me know if you have any questions, put them in the comments, share your experience in the comments, all that, and I will see you next time.